Hey everybody, my name's Eric Hopkins, and this is my good buddy Brandon, and welcome to the YouTube channel. If you're finding us for the very first time, or you are a returning viewer and not yet done so, please click that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And we're here tonight to do a review for NXT for July 27th, 2021. The show opened with a canned intro recapping the feud between NXT champion Karrion Kross and Samoa Joe. Kross waylaid General Manager William Regal in a cliffhanger that ended the previous week of NXT. This week, a tag match kicks off the show, and it ought to be fantastic. Settle in for a symphony of violence, according to this article. So let's see how this goes. Started out with Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan versus Tommaso Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher. Yeah, so what do you think about this match, Brandon? I caught him in mid-vape.
I would not want to be any four of these individuals, but
no.
I did not want to be Oney Lorcan for the majority of this match.
Yeah, he seemed to be taking most of the brutality, wasn't he?
Those chops were fucking disgusting.
Oh, yeah, a lot of joint manipulation in this, too, you know.
I have a theory about Thatcher and Ciampa. Do you ever notice in their promos or stuff that they're doing together, Thatcher's always like 30 seconds behind Ciampa?
Yeah.
Like when Ciampa celebrates, it takes a second. Thatcher sits there, doesn't move, and then he does it. I don't know why that's so funny to me, but it is. So tonight, during the match, there's a part where they both throw Lorcan and Dunne into the barricade, right? And Tommaso goes and jumps on the announcer's table, and he's giving himself a pat on the back, and he's celebrating. And Thatcher's just standing there or sitting there, kind of not doing nothing. And then all of a sudden, right before they go to commercial, he goes, "Yeah,
yeah." Yeah. Well, it was funny too because when they did the whole, Ciampa does his whole patting himself on the back sort of thing. There was some joint manipulation a little bit before that where Pete Dunne, and then he goes, "Ah, dang," So I loved a little bit of the subtle detail he threw in there. So that was great. But yeah, as we said, very brutal match as you would expect between these four competitors. Absolutely here.
I wouldn't want to be Thatcher though. Yeah, Thatcher. Not Thatcher.
Lorcan.
Oney Lorcan. He took.
Yeah. Like as we said, very, very, very brutal. The ending came when Rich Holland suddenly appeared, making a return to NXT. Now, I don't know much about Rich Holland. This is before I started watching NXT. So do you know anything about this guy?
He was part of their group before. And I just
Lorcan and Dunne, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just thought he disappeared. Like I didn't know where he went.
Yeah, I don't know if it was an injury. I can't remember what they said.
He must have been injured.
Okay.
I can't remember what the injury was or whatever, but
when I first saw him, I thought he was that Bordeaux guy who looks just like Brock Lesnar. Because this guy's jacked. I don't know his full name, but that's who I thought it was.
Wait, was he with? I don't know. I can't remember. It's been so long ago since there was. Was he in there with? It was.
Talking about Holland.
Who was all in the group when Pat McAfee was still there?
I don't remember. Again, I didn't watch it as much as I do now, so I watch it every week
wrong,
now.
like a motherfucker, but
I mean, I caught most of the time while I was watching NXT before WrestleMania. It was probably takeovers here and there, so I didn't keep up with the storylines as much. But yeah,
it's been a while. I can't remember if he was actually part of that group beforehand or not.
He might have been. I'd like to go back and watch some more of that Pat McAfee stuff anyway. I think they could use him a lot more on SmackDown. It'd be great. But anyway, Rich Holland showed up here. He attacked Thatcher on the outside with a lariat, laying him out at ringside. Lorcan was then free to jump in the ring, breaking up a submission hold Ciampa was applying to Pete Dunne. Ciampa kicked Lorcan out of the ring. That allowed Dunne time to recover. Dunne executed a bitter end, and he covered Ciampa for the clean 1-2-3 pinfall here. The only thing, I thought the match was good, but it's just, to me, again, we've talked about this constantly. It's an interference finish.
Right, he didn't interfere in the actual finish. He just took out.
He took out one half, which kind of led to the finish. But yeah,
that didn't impact Ciampa doing anything. He had.
It became 2-on-1 essentially. But he
ends up kicking what's his name out of the ring. It had no real impact. I could see if he.
Yeah, I can give you that.
But there was no DQ. There was no. He showed up. He took out Thatcher, which didn't impact Ciampa in any way. Ciampa was still applying a submission hold to Dunne. Thatcher being his tag partner and part of the match, goes in and does what anybody would do, try to break it up, and he gets his ass kicked out for it, and then, bitter end. Like, he played no real impact in the end of the match.
Right.
He just came out and fucking leveled Thatcher.
Right. And for the fact that it's a return, helping out his teammates from when he left, I can understand this one for absolutely. So, but I just, have to point out, this kind of seems like, I don't know, it seemed like on this show especially, there was a few times where it's like, all right, we got the distraction finish or the interference finish, the typical WWE thing. I tend to give NXT a little more credit because when they do it.
Distraction finishes were there?
We'll get into each one, but I want to say there was like 2 or 3, but I don't. We'll get into it. But I just happened to notice it because I know there's another one, especially during the Frankie Monet match with Robert Stone. There was one there. But yeah, we'll go through them for it. And we'll
but that one is different. That plays into their whole story.
It does, because he's been kind of costing them wins and things like that. So that's for sure. But yeah, or at least I don't know if he's costing them wins, but his former faction he was costing wins. So,
which is, I don't know. It's a weird relationship they got now.
Yeah. Robert Stone just seems to be some bad luck for sure. But all things considered, it's a good thing to see Rich Holland back for sure. And we'll see where they go with this. I don't know if the Thatcher Ciampa thing is going to continue, or they're moving on, or how this is going to go. It sounds like to me we might get a 6-man, but Thatcher and Ciampa is going to have to find a tag partner. That could be. I mean, we'll see what they do. A vignette hyped Carmelo Hayes tonight. He was in the first round of the breakout tournament. Hit Row in a promo spoke Spanish in running down Legado del Fantasma. So yeah, their act is pretty much on fire at this point.
Yes.
We'll get into their match coming up here before the night's out. We had Samoa Joe in the ring. He was on his way, and he looks like to be in a rage after what happened last week. He pulled a table from underneath the ring along with a chair. He set up the table and the chair in the ring. Joe invited William Regal to ringside. Regal sternly walks down the ramp and gets into the ring. Joe says Regal is going to fire Karrion Kross, but Joe has a much better idea. It is a 3-step process. First, Joe handed Regal a resignation letter, leaving his current role, which that was fast, by the way. I mean, now we've talked about how he really wasn't getting the job done anyway. Chaos is still going crazy on NXT, so to be honest, there's no point. Joe had another document for step 2. Regal signing it would then make Joe a part of the active roster in NXT, so the crowd erupted for this. So apparently, Joe is completely cleared, so the sounds of things. So good for him, absolutely. Let's hope he can stay there.
We all wanted it to
happen.
Oh
yeah, we did, absolutely. That's why,
I'm glad it did.
Let's hope it appears this is where Karrion Kross's road and NXT is going to come to an end here.
Yeah.
Regal does not say a word to this. Instead, he leans over to sign the deal to make Joe an active member of the roster. Joe reminds everyone this is a 3-step process, though. The 3rd step is a contract for a title match at TakeOver 36 SummerSlam weekend with Samoa Joe challenging Karrion Kross. Regal signs and it's official for TakeOver. Joe will face Kross for the NXT title. Tremendous segment between both guys, the genuine emotion both guys were showing.
Yeah.
Regal was just as upset as Joe was, clearly, but Regal was going to fire him, but Joe talked him down just enough so Regal could get that satisfaction of watching Joe destroy Kross. So yeah, it sounds to me, I mean, this is one of the better contract signings in WWE television in a long time. In my opinion, even though Kross was not present for this, he wasn't on this show at all. I'm assuming he'll be on next week's show because they taped 2 weeks in advance due to the Olympics on USA, and this is airing on Sci-Fi. So I'm sure we'll get Karrion's response to this. But yeah, from what we've seen of him going up to the main roster and losing right away and all this stuff that Raw pulled, it sounds like TakeOver 36 will be Kross's farewell, and it's all but certain in my eyes Samoa Joe is going to become your next NXT heavyweight champion. Where they go with that afterwards, we'll have to wait and see. A lot of guys Joe could feud with down there, no doubt about that. Especially some of them guys who've been getting in his face when he was the enforcer. So that could be very good. I'd like to see Pete Dunne and a lot of these guys for sure. After this, we had one of 3, I think, segments of the night where LA Knight was at a golf course with Cameron Grimes. It seems like whenever we mention LA Knight and Cameron Grimes, we just start laughing, which is great because that's good. Cameron Grimes was in tow as a nice caddy, and there was a crude joke about balls because, Cameron Grimes is just washing his balls. That's why he's like, how long do you want me to wash your balls? So, yeah, this was great. So he's just, and of course, I don't know what that machine was he was washing them in, but.
Legitimate ball washer.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'm not the biggest golfer in real life, so I don't know. But yeah, I thought this was great. Yeah. And he's yelling it really loud, and Grimes is like, calm down, shush. Didn't want to get him yelling, I'm washing your balls too loudly. Grimes was a distraction to Knight, causing him to shank a ball into the woods. Knight was super annoyed by this, and Grimes was happy as heck. And he even tried to bet him, $5,000 that he would hit it into the trees. And of course, Knight didn't take this, but he did hit it into the trees. So again, just a good comedy segments between these two guys that we thought would be the case after Knight won the $1 Million Championship. Knight kind of got one up on Grimes last week when he forced Grimes to punch Drake Maverick.
Drake Maverick.
Yes, but it seems like we're back to Cameron Grimes kind of getting it over on LA Knight. But we'll see what happens when they get back into the ring and Knight kind of turns the tables yet again. But yeah, this was a great, fun segment. To be continued. We'll have a few more of those before the night's out. Carmelo Hayes defeated Josh Briggs to advance in the NXT Breakout Tournament. This match was just kind of there for me. It wasn't the most impressive thing in the world.
No, but it was setting up the first guy who won, and now
Duke Hudson.
Carmelo Hayes.
Yeah, Duke Hudson was actually at ringside for commentary, I believe, during that.
And I like Duke. Duke Hudson.
Yeah, he's got a presence about him. I like the guy too. And I, if it's me, I think Duke Hudson goes over on Carmelo Hayes next week.
Yeah.
But both,
I think all these guys will eventually get contracts. But Duke. For me, it's Odyssey Jones. Mm-hmm. And Duke Hudson are my two favorites.
Yeah, for now. We'll see these guys next week that we've not seen yet. But yeah, absolutely. So far, I would agree with you. Odyssey Jones and Duke Hudson are probably the finals, in my opinion. But we'll see what they do here. I wasn't super impressed with Josh Briggs right away. But I did. But the thing I really did like, though, he had a Batman tattoo on his arm. Yes. The Bat logo. So I was like, okay, all right, you won me over there for sure. But yeah, I just don't know if he's... I mean, again, look at me. I don't have the greatest physique in the world either, but the guy didn't seem to have the greatest wrestler physique. Now, again, to me, wrestling physiques isn't the most important thing. Look at a guy like Bronson Reed. He don't have the greatest physique in the world, but he's a hell of a wrestler. So it doesn't matter to me, but it sounds like he might be a guy they need to work on with like a character gimmick or something to that effect for sure. But we'll see where they take these guys. But yeah, I thought right call here to have Hayes go over. Let's see. Hayes hit a tilt-a-whirl counter, escaped the clutches of Briggs. Hayes then leapt off the top rope with a slicing leg drop on Briggs, and Hayes covered Briggs for the 3 count. So
yeah, that was good.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, right guy won, and it'll be interesting to see him face Duke Hudson probably in a few weeks. Yep. We had the $1 million pep talk. Ted DiBiase showed up at the golf course. I guess he's recovered from the LA Knight beatdown. And he gave Cameron Grimes a pep talk. LA Knight hit a ball into the pond, and thanks to Grimes distracting him yet again, Knight then ordered Grimes to retrieve his golf ball from the pond. Grimes took off and waded into the water, saying he was a man of his word. Knight left as Grimes looked for his ball. Grimes found the ball as DiBiase drove up on a golf court. DiBiase told Grimes he was better than this, and Grimes responded that he was a man of his word. Grimes reckoned Ted would be more upset at him if he didn't live up to his word. That's when Ted DiBiase told Grimes that Grimes wasn't born to be a butler. You were born to be a champion, he said. DiBiase told Grimes to not lose his pride, and he urged him to fight for what he believes in. And Ted DiBiase told him to think on it. So, yeah, just kind of tried to get Cameron Grimes' mind right, which I kind of thought his mind was kind of right anyway. He was been using this to kind of, get under LA Knight's skin. Yeah. To me, it didn't sound like, he was just knuckling under to LA. But
so what he's saying is, be a man of your word. What eventually, I believe is going to happen is he'll be put in another position like he was with Drake Maverick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And instead of doing that, because he's a man of his word, but he also is a man of pride and principle, I think he'll pop him instead.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's where they're going to take it. And it's going to be.
I don't think it should be soon. I don't think it should be right away.
Or maybe like he'll get presented with that the next time and he'll walk away. LA Knight will scald him for a few weeks or something like that, and then it comes down to it again. Of course, we ain't got a whole lot more time until SummerSlam, so it's going to happen relatively soon, maybe in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But I agree with you. Maybe it'll get down to that moment, and then Grimes is going to be conflicted whether or not to keep his word or fight for what his prize, so to speak, and then he'll have to deck Knight. And so I agree. I think that's probably where they're going to go, and that'll be a great moment because the crowd will pop for that like crazy, and then we'll hopefully get a $1 million championship match at SummerSlam, or at least that weekend at TakeOver 36. I don't know what, maybe a stipulation match maybe we could do, but I don't know. We'll see where they take it. But yeah, Cameron Grimes looks to be winning the $1 million title probably here in about another month or so at the latest.
Which would be nice.
Yeah, I think it will be too, and I think that at that point, the comedy stuff you're doing right now will probably be played out. You don't want to overstay your welcome with it. I think it'll be good to move on at that point, and maybe you might want to. You might even get another month or so out of it. Maybe LA Knight wants his title back. Maybe you could go a little. But again, you don't want to overstay your welcome with a lot of these feuds. But at least they're not wrestling each and every single week like on the main roster. They're only wrestling every month or so. So that's not so bad. Next up, we had the NXT Women's Champion, Raquel Gonzalez, address the audience, hyping herself up in a good in-ring promo, I thought. She wondered out loud who was next to challenge her. Dakota Kai said her best friend, Big Mommy Cool, is the most dominant woman in NXT history. Interesting. Kai put over Gonzalez as being better than Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, Asuka, and others before her. I wouldn't go that far.
No. That was just all to fluff her ego.
Of course it was. Yeah, that's based on where we're going here. Dakota Kai wondered out loud why the NXT Women's Division is one of the greatest. It is because of one woman. Kai looked towards the entrance ramp, and she asked who is woman enough to challenge Gonzalez for the opportunity at the championship at TakeOver. No one answered this call, which is interesting. Like who kept all those women at bay? That's interesting.
Here's the thing. But she beat them all.
That's true. That she has for the most part. From what I understand, anyway. There might be a few. Yeah, I'd have to run down it, but yeah, you're probably right about that. Dakota Kai said...
All the top ones?
Yeah, all the top ones for sure. I agree with you. Dakota Kai said that as long as she is in the corner of Gonzalez, then Gonzalez would always be champion. Wink, wink. Kai raised the hand of Gonzalez, and theme music played to seemingly signal the end of the segment. Not so fast, though. There's more. So Gonzalez turned in just in time to see Kai...
fucking
running at her with a running
kick.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a Sami Zayn big haluva kick. Yeah, that's what that was. And he looked like it knocked her flat out for at least a minute or two here.
She kicked the pause button out of his
Wow. Gonzalez fell to the mat, and Dakota Kai grabbed the championship. Looks like the title match at TakeOver is taking shape. And as you mentioned, since they pretty much beat every other woman, at least at the top end of this division, this makes sense to pull the trigger on Dakota Kai now.
We knew it was coming, though.
Yeah. They've been kind of teasing it a lot, like she's been holding her hand up and just been kind of staring at her or the NXT Women's Championship for weeks. So this makes sense to pull the trigger, I think. Now.
I figured it was gonna. She was gonna play second fiddle for too much longer.
No, and there's a big size discrepancy here. But the way they played this off here, I mean, they definitely made Dakota Kai out to look like she's definitely somebody who can take out Raquel. And her past experience, obviously, if you've watched NXT, you know she has the ability to do so. So this is going to be interesting. And I ain't going to lie, I had this spoiled for me at work today because I forgot that NXT was pre-taped. So I was looking through Twitter and I saw the picture of Dakota standing over Raquel. I was like, well, I wish I hadn't have known that. But it was still good. Still well executed. So this was good. So there's no doubt about that. I'll give credit where it's due. They did a great job with this here. Adam Cole cut a promo on Bronson Reed ahead of their match later on.
I liked it.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Io Shirai is training alone at the Performance Center. Zoe Stark approached Shirai to say they should train together as they are, after all, the NXT Tag Team Champions. Shirai said so because she does not... Shirai says... Okay, they worded that poorly. Anyway, Stark insisted that they should create a relationship. Friends? No thanks, said Shirai. Stark said they're not friends, but partners. Stark invited Shirai to hang out, and Shirai reluctantly agreed. So this is awkward, to say the least.
It's one of those...
But reluctant partner situations.
Yeah, but it'll turn into something, where they'll start gelling and working together. And just when you think they hit a beat or whatever, something will happen. It'll all come crashing down.
Mm. Either that or they'll become best of friends.
And it'll be a fairy tale ending.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. So yeah, we'll see where this goes.
But I like them as champions. I mean,
the question to me is who is going to challenge them right now. We've talked about how their tag division, they got a great women's division in NXT, but their tag division is not as good at the moment. But
Shotzi away, so
yeah, they moved Shotzi, and that means
Tegan
Ember
Knox
and Knox is gone. So now it does seem like they're trying to build some other teams.
They are. That is true.
Yeah, which we'll get into a few. One right here, actually. Mandy Rose was seen huddled backstage with Gigi Dolan, I think that's how you say her name, and JC Jane. Mandy Rose then shooed away the camera operator, just like, Skedaddle, I think is actually what she said.
Mhm.
Skedaddle. But Mandy Rose looked awful
Skedaddle.
tan here. I'm not going to lie. She looked like she'd been hitting that tanner. But she looked good. Obviously, Mandy Rose always looks good. But so, yeah, it looks like she's kind of doing some recruiting. So we'll see how that goes. That may be a start of a new tag team.
Yep.
Casey Catanzaro and Caden Carter, which is another team, versus Frankie Monet and Jesse Kamaya with Robert Stone. Catanzaro pinned Frankie Monet after interference by Stone backfired. He threw this book at her. I don't know what the book was all about. It threw his handbag into the ring. My bad. It wasn't even a book. Okay. He wanted Monet to use the handbag to hit Carter. That backfired as it only distracted Monet because it hit her right in the leg. Pretty hard, I might add. She turned around to eat a kick from Carter. Catanzaro and Carter execute their double team neckbreaker 450 combo, which is incredible. When it's, it looked a little clunky here, but when it's nailed, it's a great finisher. And Catanzaro pinned Monet. So some dissension in Frankie Monet and Jason Kamea. Didn't this team just form, I think, or at least Monet part of it?
Not dissension in them. It's
Stone.
He's going to get axed. He was the reason why they were, the other team was, losing. He would stick his neck out. It'll eventually come down to him getting 86 from this group.
That's probably he should. I don't know what they'll have him do.
I don't fucking know either. So
quite frankly, I don't care. I'm not into the Robert Stone character. Never have been. Ever since they've been using him, it's just like I'm just not feeling it. But he must be a guy they like, so they keep putting him on there. So, anyhow. Roderick Strong was joined by Malcolm Bivens for a sit-down interview with Wade Barrett. Strong put over Bivens, with Strong saying he could not break through the drama with Undisputed Era until he called on Bivens. This was a good sit-down interview, I thought, for the most part. Bivens put over Strong as a leader, and Bivens talked about them getting money. They both addressed Bobby Fish, and Strong warned Fish that he will finish him. So it sounds like we're getting Bobby Fish versus Roderick Strong one-on-one. Don't know if they said when, but it sounds like it's coming up soon, for sure.
So here's the thing with Roderick Strong. I don't like his in-ring ability. Look, I don't know whether it's just his voice, like his tone, but his promos are so weird to me. The way he delivers them. Now, if he were to go back, you remember when Cole first showed up, when Undisputed Era just became a thing and they were trying to recruit
Fish and
Roderick.
Okay.
Right? And they had that feud with him and it brought his wife into it and all this other stuff. The promos he cut then I thought were so much better because they were so passionate and they had something behind it. Now it's back to what it was before, where it's like this weird monotone. There's no weight behind what he says. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't make you feel what he's saying. He just fucking says it.
Right.
And there are some guys who can deliver promos and just say it and you feel it. Like Joe. Joe's great. But Joe's also great in when he adds passion or an emotion to a promo, you feel that even more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Am I making sense? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're right.
But with Roderick, it's like this weird robotic thing, and it just throws me off. But in ring,
well, here's the thing, especially when it comes to the main roster, when you get this robotic promo stuff, it's usually because they're being scripted. Do you think that's possibly going on here with Roderick Strong right now? I mean, it's not something NXT normally does.
I think with him, it's just the way he delivered promos. Because it happened before, like I said, until that whole thing happened with Undisputed Era. And like I said, his wife and his family were brought into it. And then he got real passionate about it. You know what I mean? And then he cut some good promos after that. But it's just like we've gone back to where he was before. Maybe it's because he's got a mouthpiece in Bivens.
Maybe he needs it right now. If maybe he's struggling a little bit. Of course, I mean, there could be a lot of reasons. I mean, maybe he's being scripted more than he maybe, or... I mean, maybe there's also I mean, for whatever reason, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me, but the Diamond Mine thing is not working for me yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
no, because I think
it did opening night, but since then it's kind of like they got beat.
They need to have more impact in a sense, and I think right now NXT has a lot of moving pieces going in a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So a lot of things that we want to see, we're not going to see right away until certain pieces get moved and certain stories play out, and then we'll move. But it's
playing a long game.
I will say what they do is story. You already have a certain story here, but then you add these other players to that story, and they're just sitting like in queue. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Like they're there, Their presence isn't huge, but they're there.
Mhm.
And then the moment this act ends, boom, we go right into the next one.
Well, I even mentioned that on the Monday Night Raw review last night, how it seems like there's a couple different feuds going on right now, but there's also, while that feud's going on, like, let's take AJ Styles and Omos right now. They were doing that stuff with the Viking Raiders, but it's kind of seems to be in a holding pattern until Randy Orton gets back next week. So that it felt to me like, why are we continuing to do this? But I see, because you really don't have much else for them to do until then, because the end game is RK Bros. So this could be a similar situation. I'm not sure, but it sounds like at least for now we're getting a one-on-one match. But yeah, I want to see more out of the Diamond Mine. They beat them like within 2 or 3 weeks since their debut. I didn't know if that was a good idea, but being who they lost to and stuff, I think it made sense. But yeah, I want to see more from this group, because so far it's not been stellar.
Like I said, it's like they have several different stories going, and it's like, okay, we're going to go here next. So you get a preview of where it's going, but we have to finish out where we are.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like a gun. One in the chamber, and the next one's ready to go. You know what I mean? So once we fire this one, boom, we'll move right in. And like NXT does, it's kind of like they give you like those seamless transitions. Like Bronson Reed, you know, he had that thing with, you know, he lost the North American title and he had like a little thing afterwards, but then, you know, the whole move to main roster, and that was put off. But we slid him right in here. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think naturally that's where that was going to begin with, and then we had to take a detour, and then we're right back where it is.
Right. Well, yeah, I hear you. After this, we had the third interference thing I was telling you about earlier. We had the opening match, you know, and then we had the Stone stuff, and now we've got Imperium defeating Hit Row here. But again, it was due to outside interference and run-ins by Legado del Fantasma here. But again, and they even ran a Walter, what's the other guy's name? Dragunov. Yeah, that match was made, but then I guess Walter supposedly, I think it was Walter, who hurt his hand in an altercation with Dragunov, and so they had to postpone it. But now, since they've postponed it, we're now all going to get to see it at TakeOver 36. So that'll be a great match to watch. I can't wait to see that for the NXT UK title. But Imperium here was getting the better of Adonis for the first half of the match, but Adonis created separation to tag Top Dollar. He mowed down Imperium. The two teams go on a trade near falls before commercial break. Imperium was regaining control as the show returned from break. Heat on Adonis. Match was plodding at times until a hot tag brought in Top Dollar, which he ran some good maneuvers here with his size, using that to his advantage. He cleaned house on Imperium. Adonis tagged back in. That's when Legado del Fantasma came in for a run-in. The NXT North American champion Isaiah Swerve Scott and B-Fab were in the corner of Hit Row. Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde attacked Scott ringside, which got the attention of Top Dollar. The distraction allowed Imperium to deliver a super uppercut into a Doomsday Powerbomb. Bartel then covered Adonis for the pinfall here. So, yeah, I mean, it's furthering the feud with Legado del Fantasma and Hit Row, no doubt. And it keeps Imperium strong. So from a booking standpoint, I don't mind that at all. But it's just kind of like, all right, it's just, again, yeah, like you said, it makes some sense. At least when you're doing these distractions and interferences on NXT, they've got a storyline narrative to them. Right.
Because, again, they're all feeding into, this is where it is. You're here. Don't worry, these pieces ain't going nowhere, but we're going somewhere else. Right now, the bigger story is the whole thing they got with going on with the Phantasmo.
Right.
But Imperium is always going to be a threat.
Right.
And so you keep Imperium looking strong, but you further this feud.
Right.
Now there's even more reason why these guys are beefing. You know
to me, yeah, I totally understand. To me, it's the whole Imperium thing, though. I mean, the two guys are great, but it's just missing something without Walter being there with them.
Yes.
And I understand he's not coming over here. I think he wants to stay in England. He wants to live there and all that. So he's not going to be on NXT in the US very often. If he does, like, he'll probably come over here for the TakeOver show and all that stuff. But he's not going to stay here often. So the Imperium stuff is more effective on NXT UK. Which is a shame, because I love Walter. I'd love to see him more on the NXT US brand, but unfortunately, we're not going to get that. But yeah, like we said, though, it makes a whole lot of sense to keep Imperium strong, and and it furthers the feud.
Because at some point, you're going to have to separate these two from Walter.
Eventually, yeah.
You know what I mean? Walter isn't. He's not. Imperium just isn't Walter. The two guys are great.
Yeah, they are.
I think they're great wrestlers.
But Walter's the centerpiece, and he accents the whole act.
Yes.
But yeah, but I agree. I think these two guys could be just fine on their own. You'd have to, change the gimmick or whatever it might be. But it'd be interesting to see.
Keep them in the Imperium. Walter could be running things over in UK.
Oh,
He
yeah.
hasn't trusted these two to handle things over in the US. And this gives you the opportunity to have those moments where it's that crossover.
Right.
You'll get the NXT UK champion on, NXT.
Right.
And vice versa. You know what I mean? Say whenever they win those titles, Walter can either come to the U.S. and say now all of Imperium holds gold or what have you. There's things you can do. But if they do split them off from Imperium, okay, it still wouldn't be bad. I still would like to see what these guys can do further.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah, and the only other thing I'll add to this is just be careful with doing all these interferences and distractions. Like we said, I agree how the stories make sense, but this is the third one on the show. This is feeling a little main roster-ish.
Yeah,
as long as you don't get out of control.
It's the same thing, though. They didn't attack Top Dollar or the other guy.
Right.
So they attacked the North American champion, which is who their boss is beefing with.
So it's very kind of AEW-ish when they do their interferences. It's not so much affects the guys in the ring sometimes, but it's the action with the factions outside. So, okay, all right. So it's not as bad with that, but it's still, like we talked about even on AEW, it's not ideal.
Main roster. Yeah, no. It's just on main roster, though, when they do it, they hit whoever the fuck's in the ring.
It screws everything up in the ring, and it ruins the match, whatever they may be having. Like I mentioned in the Raw review last night, I had a lot of people talking to me about how on Twitter that, they had a good match despite the bad finish. I'm like, here's the thing, though. If you're having a good or a great match, if you botch the finish and the finish is poorly booked, it ruins the good match you were having up to that point. Because the finish,
you're only going to remember the finish.
Yeah, because the finish is a big part of a match, and if you can have a stellar, 5-star match, and at the end you book the wrong ending and you put the wrong guy over, it ruins it. So, so other than that, I thought this was a good segment here. We had the final installment of the golf course skits with LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. This was something else indeed. Yeah.
This one made me laugh so hard.
Oh yeah.
And I remember we were watching it, and Miranda goes, "Oh, I thought we were watching something else," because she didn't realize it was still wrestling.
Yeah.
She just watching this skit, and she goes, "Oh, I thought this was something else."
This reminded me of like an old 80s skit like the Ted DiBiase character would have pulled back in the day. Maybe not so much the low blow here, but grizzled young veterans were also playing golf, and they wanted to play through because I guess LA Knight was holding things up, complaining that Knight was playing too slow. Grimes took up for Knight, though, and a bet was made for $20,000 to whoever could sink the ball to the hole. I honestly thought when this started, it looked like we were going to we still may get this. Grizzled young vets versus LA Knight and Cameron Grimes. That may be where they're going. And maybe Grimes has to do something, maybe, as we said before. So that could be where we're going. Or Grizzled Young Veterans beat LA Knight and Grimes, and LA Knight takes on Grimes. That could be a thing.
Yeah, Grimes takes the pin.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, for sure. LA Knight has his back turned when Grimes went to swing his golf club, and Knight is hit in the balls. They must have been clean, though.
I thought it was the head. Was it the head and balls? Because like he
yes. Yeah, he gets hit in the balls first, and then as he's bending over to grab his balls, he was hit in the head by the swinging club from Grimes. So he took 2 shots here from Grimes in the club. Grimes then proceeded to get a hole-in-one, though, sinking the ball into the cup. So and he was ecstatic about this. So who wouldn't be? A hole-in-one is amazing. But
and then he pulls the old Eddie Guerrero, throws the golf club at one of the grizzled young vets, and then when LA Knight's getting up, he goes, "He hit you." He goes, "Get him."
And so that's when the grizzled young vets fleed on a golf court before they could pay up on this bet. Maybe they're going to have a match for the $20,000. That could be interesting too. Meanwhile, LA Knight is getting to his feet. He thinks the grizzled young vets jumped him. Knight throws his club, as you mentioned, at the fleeing cart, and Knight gives chase on foot while still stumbling, selling the injury. So I thought this was absolutely great, 100%. So
I love Grimes' line in this. He's like, "Man, I love golf."
Yeah. Who knew? I would love golf. Yeah. This was great. Absolutely. 100%. Absolutely hysterical. I guess, Grimes then remarks that he loves golf as the Looney Tunes segment comes to a close, is what this article called it, a Looney Tunes segment. So, but this was very well See, this is the type of comedy that WWE is capable of doing, or at least NXT does a better job than the main roster. It's not cringe. It's not overly. I mean, this was cheesy, but it was executed in a way that is entertaining and not just, oh my God, terrible.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there are ways to do comedy in professional wrestling that's effective. Just the main roster don't know how to do it. So yeah,
Don't know why.
this would seem to set up the tag team match, as we said, but nothing of the sort was announced for next week. However, 3 other matches were set for next week's show, and those matches include Johnny Gargano, which, again, they kind of, this article didn't mention this, but there was a segment where Indy Hartwell, Candice LeRae, and Johnny Gargano were in the back, and I guess, Indy Hartwell gets a package, and she opens it up. It's like a present, and it's a picture that Dexter Lumis appeared to have drawn of the 3 of them and Dexter Lumis together. No Austin Theory, interestingly enough. So, and then, of course, Johnny Gargano freaks out, says, no more of this, we're done, we're stopping this, and they set up this match where Johnny Gargano next week will face Dexter Lumis in a, quote, love her or lose her match involving Indy Hartwell. If Johnny Gargano loses, Indy Hartwell could be with Dexter Lumis. If Johnny Gargano wins, Indy Hartwell has to get over Dexter Lumis, and this is over with. So, clearly Gargano's losing, I think, in my opinion. So, we'll see what happens. And maybe we'll get Dexter Lumis joining the way. Again.
God, that would be...
potential, kind of like the Cameron Grimes LA Knight stuff, could be great comedy. Just all things considered.
Imagine them trying to give him a shirt.
Oh my God! And of course, Dexter Lumis don't talk, so Gargano loves to talk. So yeah, this has possibilities. But yeah, again, did I miss something? Where's Austin Theory? Did I miss anything here?
I think his hands broke. I have no idea.
Oh, maybe that's what it was. Okay, yeah, because we didn't watch last week's show due to
he took a
Karrion Kross debacle.
beating though, man, at the hands of. So I think he's he's hurt.
Okay, so that explains that. And I'm sure he'll be back, and maybe he's not in the way by that. It just depends on how long he'll be out, but we'll see what they do with that. Then, of course, we had Roderick Strong with Diamond will face Bobby Fish, so I guess that's tomorrow or next week for sure. Joe Gacy versus Trey Baxter in the final first-round match of the NXT Breakout Tournament. And it's official. Hit Row will finally get their hands on Legado del Fantasma next week, which appears to be a 6-man, I'm assuming. So we'll see that match. So good card, top to bottom next week. So I'm looking forward to that. That'll be a good show.
It's gonna be dope.
Yeah, and I believe Karrion Kross will actually be on the show next week because they talked about how they had to reshoot his entrance because it was getting loud Jeff Hardy chants, and they did not want that on NXT, so they had to lie to the crowd to get them to stay late during the taping because apparently everybody was going to go home. So they said, no, stick around. We got a surprise. And they reshot Karrion Kross's entrance because they wanted to get the Jeff Hardy chants out. But again, this is the problem when the main roster books up. The NXT crowd will watch the main roster shows. So when the NXT crowd starts chanting Hardy, you can't get mad at them. But the Raw and SmackDown crowd doesn't watch NXT. That's a problem. It would be much better if the main roster helped out NXT instead of buried them all the time, for sure. But I digress. Let's move on. Adam Cole versus Bronson Reed in our main event tonight. They played up the size difference in the first half of the match with Reed demonstrating his power moves, and he squished Adam Cole. Countering a suplex, Cole targeted the knee. Cole kicked Reed in the knee to knock Reed off the ropes before the show cut its final commercial break. Cole worked over Reed's leg a lot. Trash talk by Cole fired up Bronson Reed. Cole gets squished in a quarter, and Reed followed with a belly bump. Reed gets a near fall. Cole countered Reed to deliver an enziguri, but Reed came back with a counter of his own that led to him dropping Adam Cole into a Death Valley driver for another near fall. Cole with 2 count on Reed after a running kick. Cole was throwing super kicks when Reed caught Cole's foot. Reed hulked up to chop Cole, but Cole kicked him in the injured leg. Cole hit a Panama Sunrise on Bronson Reed here. That was incredible, by the way. The size of a man that Bronson Reed is to take this bump, that was incredible. Cole pulled down his knee pad, signaling for the last shot. Instead, Cole ate a lariat from Bronson Reed, another big shot from Bronson Reed here. And then Cole took a power bomb. Reed climbed the ropes, setting up for the tsunami. No water in the pool, though, as Reed missed the splash. Cole delivered the last shot, and Cole covered Reed for the 1-2-3 win here. Good win by Adam Cole. Interesting that they pinned Bronson Reed, though.
Not really. I mean, he's no longer...
Well, and Cole's one of the top guys.
Yeah.
So,
and it's not like he lost to get some douchebag in the back.
Yeah.
Adam Cole.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of like, as much as I didn't like the fact that Keith Lee lost to Bobby Lashley on Raw a few weeks ago, it was Bobby Lashley, the world champion. So that's not as terrible. It still probably shouldn't have been booked that way. Now, Bronson Reed is kind of, again, it seems like he's in a bit of a holding pattern. He dropped the North American title in anticipation of probably being called up to the main roster, as the rumors were, but the draft has now been pushed back to October at least. So he's got a little bit of time to kill here on NXT.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure he can recover from this between now and that time. So it's not that big of a deal, I don't think, moving forward. But after the match is where the main thing happened here. Kyle O'Reilly ran down and attacked Cole after the match. Now, well, let's get it. Okay. O'Reilly hit Cole with the chair, and O'Reilly choked Cole with the chair. O'Reilly picked up Cole to deliver a brainbuster on the ring steps. Cole is down selling while O'Reilly stood over him, and the show faded to black. Now, here's my thing about this, though. Wasn't Kyle O'Reilly the babyface in this feud with Adam Cole?
Yes, but here's the thing.
I know they got a blood feud.
That's like that thing where Kyle has kind of lost it because he's got this obsession with Cole.
Mm-hmm.
He may have beaten Cole the first time, and then Cole beat him the second time.
Okay.
So where you have Cole being the cold, calculated, I'm always a step ahead of you, you have Kyle who has finally reached a breaking point and it snapped. And that match against Austin Theory, he lost it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he took all that frustration out on Austin, but yelling Cole the whole fucking time. Now Cole's job is to now antagonize this man as to what he did in the promo he cut.
Okay.
So Cole, or you put yourself in O'Reilly's shoes, where he's already off the deep end here, and he sees you there. He's going to take it to the next level to prove to you that he can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that explanation. Yeah,
he did, and then he beat the shit out of him.
Well, it was just weird to me because again, I didn't watch last week's NXT, so if that happened with Austin Theory last week,
he fucking lost it.
If that happened, so I understand a little more. But again, I was so upset about the Karrion Kross thing they did on Raw. I didn't feel like watching NXT last week. Yeah. So even though we did discuss it a little bit about what happened, but
he beat the
to me when I watched this, it was like, who's the babyface, who's the heel here? Because O'Reilly was the babyface last time I saw him, and then Cole was the heel. Now, by the end of this, it felt to me like they pulled a double turn because O'Reilly was just it's a blood feud, like I said.
Being pushed over the edge.
Okay.
And he snapped.
But it was interesting at the end of this, though, when O'Reilly's standing tall, he's getting booed by this crowd, and Cole looked to be getting the babyface sympathy. I don't know if I would say Cole's turning babyface, but O'Reilly was definitely getting booed.
It's that moment of like, well, you're gonna get people who cheer for Cole no matter what.
Well,
they're gonna boo O'Reilly. That's gonna happen.
And maybe that's kind of why they're doing this
too. The whole
too.
Crowd, because a lot of the crowd was cheering on what he did. Because, like I said, he lost it. There's something inside. Cole broke something inside of Kyle.
Right.
And that match against Austin Theory, you see it just finally give way.
Okay.
And his emotions just roll over. And he beats the hell out of.
I may have to go back and watch this O'Reilly
Austin
Theory match.
Then. And he's calling him Cole the whole time he's doing.
Okay. So in that case, it makes a little more sense. But
yeah.
I mean, and I'm sure, obviously, this is going to be a Takeover 36 match, no doubt about it.
They're gonna have to set each other on fire. I don't know
how do you top what they've done, though?
I don't know.
I mean, they went from a lariat with a chain all the way back to a singles match, which is interesting. Role, it was reversed,
which was still brutal. Though.
It was still a good match, no doubt about it.
What do you do for this one? Like I said,
this is the rubber match, and I think after this, it needs to end.
Yes.
This has got to be the finale of it, the third match in the series, but. Yeah, so I mean, I'm interested in seeing the match, seeing where they go. I think they've got to do some sort of stip, but yeah, I don't know.
What's that stip going to be?
Well, I don't know about not necessarily a stip of loser has to leave the NXT or something, but what kind of match are they going to have? More likely is what I mean.
But this should be the stipulation should be once this match is over, whoever wins, that's it. They go their separate ways.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, they definitely don't need to be wrestling anytime soon. They want to get involved with some of the other former Undisputed Era guys like Roderick or Bobby Fish is one thing. But yeah, I think these two guys need to settle this blood feud here in a few weeks at TakeOver 36. So, but yeah, it was just interesting right away. I was kind of like, okay, wait a minute, So, but yeah, at least thank you for the context though, because I needed that. So,
taking into account what happened and the promos that were cut that led up to it, yeah. Okay. You can tell Cole is antagonizing Kyle verbally. He doesn't expect Kyle to have that killer instinct. He doesn't expect Kyle to do any of what Kyle did.
Right.
Because he's Mr. Cool.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the good guy, right?
But this is the time that he has lost his cool.
I think O'Reilly, Cool Kyle is no. Yeah.
When he's standing over him, his face. He has that trepidation of I know what I did,
but I don't care.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. I have no
You know what I mean?
remorse,
Yeah.
Which is, I think, why the crowd booed him a little bit. Like you said, he was getting some cheers, but there was some audible boos. Like, this is not the O'Reilly we want. Which is fine if that's the story they're telling.
When you've been pushed too far and you just go, I don't care anymore.
Yeah. He's definitely not Cool Kyle anymore. He lost that cool.
The week before he lost it, dude. And if you can go back and watch that one at least, nothing else, just that match, and you'll get the full extent of what I'm saying, and you could see it happen, and it was good. But he beat the shit out of Austin Theory.
Do you think they'll go back to the Cool Kyle gimmick, or do you think they'll kind of stick with this Killer Kyle? Which there you go. There's the name, Killer Kyle.
This version of Kyle.
Yeah, I like the aggressive, which I always like any wrestler that's more aggressive than cheesy comedy. So I'm always going to vote for that.
If you could mix the two, that'd be fine.
Like a schizophrenic, like he's cool, but then he can snap like Edge, rated R superstar type thing. He's
in the ring, and that's it. That's different. You know what I mean? Have him be. He already has an aggressive wrestling style. I can't really say that. Like he doesn't wrestle. Not he. All his shots have impact. They all have that oomph in him,
which will fit this gimmick, I would think. Yeah, for sure. It makes you see where they go.
I like
it too. Well, we'll see where they go. But I'm glad you provided the context though, because I needed that for sure. Because I was just like, what? But all right, so I can understand it then. So that'll do it for this week's NXT review for July 27th, 2021. But the real question here is, guys, what did you guys think about this NXT show? Are you watching NXT? You ought to be. It's the best of the 3 shows that WWE's doing. So please definitely follow these guys. They're doing some of their best work. These guys are uber talented, and see them now before they get destroyed when they get called up. But comment down below. Let us know what you guys thought of this show. And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. And please hit that notification bell so you get all the notifications about when we put up new content right here on this channel. And until our next video, guys, take care. Tune in tomorrow night for our AEW review.
Or I'm going to send Dexter Loomis to your house. Hit that button.
Oh, wow. That's creepy.
Yeah. Ready to go, man. Lock and load. That's right. I swear to God that I can jump and roll. Yeah. I got a shot and I ain't stopping, no. That's how I know that I'm unstoppable.